Guys, here we are on the Redback stand. I've got Danny Green with me, back for the 3rd year running. Danny, thanks for coming down again. You love this Expo, don't you?
Once again, I'm blown away, mate. The amount of people that come here, and yeah, it's wild and it's great. I've been walking around taking photos of some good ideas and, you know, getting some tips for myself, so it's a great event.
Mate, when'd you get in? All the way from Perth?
Yeah, flew in last night, so late flight, and then bed was a bit different, bed was a bit stiff, so I didn't get much of a sleep, but I'm here today and here tomorrow, and yeah, look, there's just so many things to see here. It really is a phenomenal expo.
Mate, I've got to ask you, you've had the destructive beatdown, if you like, of Shane Cameron late last year it was. Great victory there. What's on the cards moving forward here? You know, there's a bit of murmuring that you may be all done, but you're still looking sharp, I see.
I've got to keep the eye in, mate. My daughter's 11 and she's going to be, you know, the boys will be knocking on the door in about a couple of years' time, so I want to keep in shape to chase those little buggers around the block. But look, mate, I'm not too sure. Not many fighters get the chance to script their own ending, and for me to get knocked out a couple of times, lose my world title, then for the chance to fight for my old world title, get it back in a pretty torrid fight in 12 rounds at a packed house in Melbourne, the sport-loving centre of Australia. Yeah, pretty happy, and who knows, mate? It's a tough gig. I've been doing it for a long time. Might be a nice way to fly off out in the sunset as a world champion and do what not many fighters, you know, I guess have the fortitude to do. If I do not fight again, I'll be pulling stumps before I'm ready, which is hard for a fighter and a competitive guy to do. But 20 years down the track, I reckon I'll look back, if I do make that decision, as a good one. But look, anything could happen. I never say never. I've learned to never say never. And if something massive comes along, who knows, I might take the opportunity. But to defend my world title against a top 10 guy who's not a massive name, I've fought the massive names, I've beaten them, I've lost against them, I've done all I can really in the sport. For me personally, it'd want to be something pretty special to go again. So I guess I'll have to wait for that decision before I make it.
Describe to us the feeling when you've brought out, you know, who many considered at the time, you know, one of the best of all time in Roy Jones Jr. You brought him in our house in Sydney, in front of a packed house, millions watched it on TV. You finished him in the first round.
Mate, I was very, very, very confident that I was going to be victorious. It was probably the most relaxed I've ever been. I watched the replay not long ago, and the referee says to me, "You're ready to go?" Like, he taps you the groin, you got to make sure that checks your mouth guard, like a minute before the fight's going to start. And I just smile and go, "Yeah, I'm ready to rumble, man." I was cool as, and not being arrogant, I was just prepared so well, and was very confident, had very strong self-belief. And sometimes I haven't had that self-belief and I haven't been victorious. So it's very important, and I thought in my mind I'd win in the 11th round, but I never said it. But if I catch anyone cold, like, you know, clean and cold, like with Roy, he was in great trouble, and I jumped on him and didn't give him a chance. Ref called off, and there was only one way it's going to finish, and that's Roy out cold. So for me, that was the greatest victory that I've had in my career.
I think for anyone, I mean, you talk about a highlight as a boxer knocking out Roy Jones Jr., it doesn't get better, does it?
No, and I was 5-1 underdog when the bell went. Yeah. And then he went and fought Bernard Hopkins. He'd already signed on to fight Bernard Hopkins. He was just, I was a mere formality, like a tune-up for Hopkins for him, in his eyes. And he'd already signed on, and then Hopkins fought him later. In the next fight after me, he still went and fought Bernard Hopkins when I should have fought Hopkins. Yeah. And they went 12 rounds. So I put Roy away in 1, and Bernard went 12 with him, and, you know, it would have been nice to see if I could have done the same or been victorious against a legend in Bernard Hopkins, but unfortunately never got the chance to do it. We tried.
Well, I mean, is that still a potential foe for you? I mean, he's still going around. I know he's just won another belt, or is it just too hard?
Oh, look, man, I was on the phone with Bernard directly after the Roy Jones fight for hours and said, "You can't fight Roy. You got to fight me. It doesn't make sense. You've signed on, but why would you fight a guy who just smoked in 1 round? It doesn't make sense. You got to fight me next." Maybe fight Roy after that. And we were doing the deal. I had the money. I had everything on the table over in Los Angeles in Golden Boy's office. Richie Schaefer was there. I was talking to Richie Schaefer, and the other guy present was Schaefer's lawyer for Golden Boy. And we had the deal pretty much done. Then he just ceased negotiations. Unfortunately, he chose to fight Roy Jones instead. It was a stink. And a pretty boring fight, but he won. And then he's gone on to do some ridiculously incredible things in the sport. Bernard Hopkins is one of a kind. There's only one guy. He's 48. You can't. I don't know. There's only one person in the world that can do that.
No, that's
it's
right.
him. So look, I have an immense amount of respect for the guy as far as his ability and what he's done in the sport, and the way he conducts himself and handles himself physically and mentally outside the sport as well as inside. So it would have been nice, but look, man, he's 48 years old, and the money he's going to command to come out here to Australia, is going to be ridiculous. I think it's way too much for what he's really worth.
Yeah.
And then for me to go there, he's not going to be able to offer me the amount of money that I'm worth to go there. So, you know, I don't think it'll happen. And if he's less greedy and accepts what he's worth, then who knows? For sure.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, mate. When you're a kid over there in WA, just running around like a little grasshopper, but the career you've had, you couldn't ask for much more. You know, it's just been amazing, mate, hasn't it? You've done your country proud, yeah?
Thanks very much, mate. And look, I pinch myself. I pinch myself, you know. I would have thought I would have been one of the guys, you know, one of the young blokes walking around today, not dreaming of being able to achieve what I've achieved. And I guess it's come down to, sacrifice and self-belief and a very strong will to win. And hasn't always gone my way. And I had someone early on in my career, a very prominent person in the sport, say you won't make it. You know, before I turned pro, he's too slow, or you won't make it. And I was very determined to prove myself and my country that I have the ability. And it's the most satisfying thing, champ, is the following and the support that I've had has been crazy. And
what's the hardest thing about staying at the top of your game? You know, the very best, like you have for almost 2 decades. You know, is it the mental side or is it the physical component? Just touch on that for us.
It's probably a bit of both, mate. I think mentally you have to be far stronger than the average Joe to be able to achieve that kind of success and to be able to achieve the things that a fighter can achieve, because you're physically up against it. It's such a tough game physically, so your body's under duress the whole time. So the amount of injuries you carry, I've fought with broken ribs, broken nose, broken jaw, broken hand, prepared 5 or 6 weeks with all those brokes in my body at different times through various fights. So you've got to have a very strong will to win, and a few screws loose always helps. It's probably the main thing, mate.
Well, mate, I'll follow you on Facebook. You certainly do have a few screws loose, don't you, mate?
You got to have that, mate.
You've been enjoying a can, actually, just touching on that.
Yeah, I've been enjoying myself, mate. You know, and I guess when I look back probably look back a bit fonder because I've actually smelt the roses on the way through. I've enjoyed it too, mate. I've had my fun. There's no point doing what you do and not being able to enjoy it. And you got to live. Anything in moderation is good. You know, you let yourself go. And I'm just a regular Joe, man. I like to enjoy myself and have as much fun and be as silly as possible, as long as no one's getting hurt and everyone's cool.
Well, Danny Green, I'll tell you, mate, you've been an absolute legend. On behalf of the Australian fitness industry, we'd like to thank you again for coming along to the show, and we wish you only the best moving forward, mate. We really do.
Thanks very much, and everyone out there for the support I've been shown. Just, it blows me away. It continually blows me away. And people show me such love here, and I'm really glad that I can show it back. And mate, thanks very much for having me here once again. It's a fantastic show, and look forward to be here next year, mate.
Thanks, Danny. Danny's going to be here again tomorrow on the Probiotic stand. That's a mouthful, with Redback supplements over here in Hall 2, the strength and conditioning zone. Come on down. Thanks, Danny.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.